The Galactic Council had always been a place of order and knowledge. High above the spiral arms of the Milky Way, in a giant orbiting station, leaders from hundreds of alien worlds gathered to discuss matters of the galaxy. They had controlled trade routes, settled conflicts, and shared knowledge for thousands of cycles. But today, there was a strange tension in the chamber. Something unusual had appeared in the vast darkness of space, and it was unlike anything they had ever seen. A soft pulse of light and sound had been detected from a small, blue planet far on the edge of a minor star system. At first, the council thought it was a simple signal, a minor fluctuation from a quiet corner of the galaxy. Scholars studied the data and dismissed it as unimportant. But then, Rilo, the linguist from the planet Jorath, noticed something unusual. Hidden within the pulse was a pattern of vibration that was not random. It was intentional, like a message waiting to be heard. Rilo leaned forward, his many eyes fixed on the display. His voice was calm, but there was excitement in his tone. "This is not ordinary communication," he said. "It is a name. A true name of a planet. I believe it is calling itself." The room grew silent. The council's members were not used to surprises. Their species had thousands of years of knowledge and power, yet a simple name could make even the strongest feel unease. "Speak it aloud," said the chair, a tall being with silver skin and flowing robes. Rilo hesitated for a moment, then pressed a small device that translated the vibration into sound. The name filled the chamber. Earth. At first, it seemed ordinary, even gentle. But then something strange happened. The name echoed through the hall, and the alien leaders felt a shiver of something they could not name. It was not fear. It was not excitement. It was a strange recognition, as if the universe itself paused to listen. Whispers ran through the council. No one had ever seen such a reaction from a single, simple name. "Earth?" asked Hela, a scholar from the planet Vera. Her voice was trembling slightly. "It seems so ordinary. Why does it feel powerful?" "That is exactly the question," Rilo replied. "I have studied hundreds of species, hundreds of names. None of them carry this resonance. It is subtle, but it touches something deep. We must investigate." The council agreed. A mission was assembled, a small group of scouts and observers who would travel to Earth and report back. They expected a primitive world, a small planet with limited life and basic technology. No one imagined what they would find. The journey through the stars was long. The scouts traveled in quiet ships, passing through nebulae and asteroid fields, careful to avoid detection. They had been trained to observe, not interfere. And yet, as they drew closer to Earth, they began to notice signs of unusual activity. Cities glimmered with light at night, but they were not cities built only for function. They were designed, with care and beauty. People moved with purpose, but also with joy. Machines worked alongside humans, but not to replace them. Instead, they improved life, helping humans to build, heal, and explore. One scout, Varnuk, could not hide his surprise. "They are organized," he said to Hela as they hovered above a forested continent. "But it is not rigid. They adapt quickly. They help each other in ways we rarely see." Hela nodded. "I have observed cooperation in other species, but never like this. They do not command loyalty with fear. They inspire it with trust and determination. It is remarkable." The scouts reported everything back to the council. Charts, images, and observations filled the communication channels. The council listened carefully, but some were skeptical. "It is just another minor world," said a delegate from the planet Taurin. "Do not read too much into it." But even the skeptic could not ignore the growing pattern. Humans had survived extreme climates, disease, and conflict. They created solutions where other species would fail. They explored oceans, deserts, and skies with curiosity that was almost boundless. As the scouts returned to the council station, the mood in the chamber had shifted. Earth was no longer a minor world. Its name carried weight, its people carried strength, and its presence touched the galaxy in a way the council had not expected. Whispers continued, but now they were mixed with fascination. No one could explain it fully, yet everyone agreed on one thing: this small blue planet was special. Something about it was different, and the galaxy had only just begun to notice. And somewhere, far beyond the council, in the silent darkness of the void, something stirred. A force that fed on fear and control sensed the attention. The name Earth had been spoken, and it had been heard. A shadow watched. The galaxy had not yet realized that by discovering Earth's real name, they had awakened something far older and far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. The council was both curious and cautious. After hearing the scouts' reports, they realized Earth was unlike any world they had studied before. Every detail, from the humans' cooperation to their creativity, challenged what the council thought they knew about intelligent life. They decided it was necessary to observe the planet more closely, but without alerting its inhabitants. A small fleet of silent observation ships was sent into orbit around Earth, cloaked in advanced technology so humans could not see or detect them. The first images stunned the council. Cities stretched across continents, not only as centers of work but as places of art, learning, and community. Humans moved with purpose but also showed care for one another. They healed the sick, fed the hungry, and shared knowledge freely. The council had seen civilizations with advanced technology, but none had combined intelligence, skill, and empathy in such a balanced way. Varnak, one of the council's most experienced observers, spoke quietly to Hela as they reviewed the footage. "I have watched hundreds of worlds, Hela. I have seen planets with machines that can build entire cities in hours. I have seen species that can destroy enemies with a single command. But I have never seen life like this. Humans do not rely on power alone. They rely on trust, ingenuity, and courage. That is dangerous." Hela nodded, her eyes wide as she studied the patterns of human activity. "It is not danger in the usual sense," she said. "It is potential. They can grow, adapt, and survive in ways no other species can predict. And yet, they seem unaware of how much power they have. That is rare." The scouts recorded the humans' problem-solving skills. When a river flooded a village, humans built barriers from simple materials, working together without hesitation. When a storm destroyed a section of their energy grid, they repaired it with tools and techniques adapted from old designs, improving on them quickly. The council members could not understand it. Most advanced species depended on rigid systems and strict hierarchy. Humans were different. They could take small ideas, combine them, and create solutions that no one else would imagine. The council began to ask questions that had no easy answers. How had humans evolved such resilience? Why did they cooperate naturally without coercion or control? Could this species, seemingly ordinary, actually be a force that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy? Rilo, the linguist, made an important observation. "It is their name," he said, looking at the data again. "The name Earth carries resonance not just in sound, but in meaning. It represents life, struggle, and hope. When the council first heard it, we felt it in a way that logic cannot explain. Perhaps the human strength is connected to their identity. Their name and their purpose are one." Meanwhile, the humans went about their lives completely unaware that they were under observation. They explored space with small ships, sent signals to distant planets, and experimented with new energy sources. Every action was thoughtful, yet simple. They learned from failure as much as from success. The observers began to realize that humans were unpredictable, but in the best way. Nothing the council knew could fully anticipate what a human would do next. Some members of the council grew uneasy. "They are too adaptable," said a delegate from the planet Torin. "We can control powerful species with fear or force. But these humans, they do not respond in predictable ways. We cannot dominate them as we do others. That is dangerous for the galaxy." Others disagreed. "Dangerous or not, we must learn from them," said Hela. "Their creativity, courage, and cooperation could teach us more than any technology or weapon. We cannot ignore this." The council debated long and hard. Some wanted to isolate Earth, keep it small and unnoticed. Others wanted to study it openly, sharing the humans' abilities with other worlds. But every plan carried risk. The more the council studied humans, the more they realized that Earth's influence could not be contained. Even silent observation could alter the galaxy in ways no one predicted. Late one cycle, Rilo returned to the council chamber with an urgent report. "I have analyzed the humans' interactions," he said. "They are building connections beyond their planet. Their signals reach moons, satellites, and even nearby star systems. They are not just surviving, they are learning to extend their influence. If left unchecked, their resilience could inspire hope in other species. And hope can challenge control. That is something the galaxy has not seen for a long time." The council understood the meaning immediately. A single planet, small and seemingly unremarkable, had the power to change the galaxy. The scouts' observations confirmed it. Humans were extraordinary, not because they had the strongest weapons, but because they had courage, ingenuity, and the ability to inspire others. In the quiet of space, the council prepared to study Earth more carefully. They knew the planet held secrets that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. No one suspected that far beyond their observation, a shadow had begun to stir, drawn by the very attention the council had given to Earth. Something ancient and dangerous sensed the human strength. It watched, waiting for the moment to strike. Earth, the small blue planet with life so ordinary and yet so remarkable, was about to become the center of attention for forces far larger than itself. And no one, not even the council, fully understood the impact of its real name. Far beyond the outer reaches of the galaxy, in a dark region where light rarely reached, a presence stirred. It was not a planet, not a ship, nor a creature in the usual sense. It was terror, a being older than most stars, a force that thrived on fear, control, and chaos. For cycles, terror had drifted through the darkness, unnoticed, feeding on panic and submission. But now, it felt something new. The name Earth had been spoken in the Galactic Council. Its resonance had traveled through space, reaching corners terror rarely sensed. Something about the humans' energy, their courage, and their unity disturbed terror. It had never encountered a species that drew strength from hope rather than fear. Terror sensed a challenge, a spark of resistance it could not extinguish. In its dark domain, terror expanded, stretching invisible tendrils across the void. It listened to the signals of the Galactic Council, learning about this small blue planet. Humans, it discovered, were not the strongest species in terms of technology or weapons. They were not the fastest, nor the most numerous. But their ability to adapt, to cooperate, and to face impossible challenges filled terror with unease. "They are resilient," terror hissed, a sound that vibrated in empty space. "They will not bow. They will not yield. This species could disrupt everything." Terror's attention sharpened. It decided to act. First, it would strike at the Council, the ones who had discovered Earth's real name. If the Council's influence could be weakened, the human strength would remain unseen, unchallenged, and easier to destroy later. Its plan was patient but deliberate. Terror could wait. It had waited for centuries. But the humans had unknowingly drawn its gaze. That was a mistake it intended to correct. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council continued its study of Earth. They were unaware of the dark eyes watching them from across the void. Members debated the humans' potential, their possibilities, and the risks of exposure. We cannot underestimate them, Hela warned. Their resilience is unique. It may be the key to protecting more than just their planet. If we act wisely, we can learn from them. But the Council underestimated how quickly the darkness could reach them. Terror began its approach, moving through space like a shadow over light. Ships disappeared from communication channels. Entire systems went silent. Panic spread among species that had long depended on the Council's guidance. The normally composed delegates grew anxious, unsure of how to respond to a threat they could not see, touch, or fully understand. The first encounter was subtle. A Council ship patrolling near a neutral star system vanished without warning. Sensors recorded a fleeting shadow, a ripple of darkness, and then silence. Messages from other ships began reporting strange occurrences, communications scrambled, instruments malfunctioning, and a deep, chilling presence that seemed to fill the void around them. Rilo studied the readings and felt a growing dread. "This is not natural," he said. "We are facing something that does not follow the laws of matter or energy as we understand them. It is intelligent, and it is aware of us. It is aware of Earth." Hela turned pale. "We have made a mistake. We revealed too much. This terror, it knows where Earth is. It will not wait long before acting." The Council tried to organize a defense. Ships were mobilized, fleets prepared, and alarm systems activated across the galaxy. But terror was unlike any enemy they had faced. It did not rely on conventional attacks. It moved like a shadow, invisible yet overwhelming, breaking systems with a thought, silencing voices with a ripple of fear. Delegates who had faced war and conquest trembled at the presence of something so completely alien. Back on Earth, humans remained unaware of the growing threat. Life continued with its usual mixture of work, learning, and exploration. Cities thrived, communities supported each other, and humans continued to innovate. Their ability to face challenges, to adapt, and to cooperate was exactly what made them a target. Terror sensed it and became more intent on destruction. It was during this time that the Council realized the humans' potential could not be ignored. They began to prepare for a new strategy, one that would rely not only on fleets and weapons but on the humans themselves. The planet that had seemed ordinary was about to play a central role in the fate of the galaxy. And in the shadows, terror waited. Patient, calculating, and growing stronger with every ripple of fear it observed from nearby systems. Its gaze was fixed on Earth. The small blue planet had awakened something in the galaxy, and terror would stop at nothing to extinguish that spark. The stage was set. The Council knew danger was coming, but they had yet to understand the full strength of the humans. Terror, sensing the challenge ahead, prepared to test the courage, ingenuity, and unity of a species the galaxy had barely begun to recognize. The Galactic Council had never faced a threat like this. Terror moved through the galaxy unseen, striking without warning, breaking communication links, and spreading fear wherever it went. Planets that had once trusted the Council began to panic. Ships sent to monitor the outer sectors disappeared. Entire star systems went silent. The Council's usual confidence faltered under the weight of this invisible enemy. Delegates gathered in the main chamber, their voices tense. "We are losing control of sectors we have protected for cycles," said a representative from Torin, his voice trembling. "We cannot fight something we cannot see or predict." Hela, always calm under pressure, looked at the Council and spoke clearly. "We may not understand this force yet, but we cannot give in to fear. The only way to survive is to adapt and find allies. There is one planet, one species, that may hold the key, Earth." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some delegates were shocked. "Earth?" one asked. "A small blue planet on the edge of a minor system? They have no fleets, no weapons to challenge terror. How can they help?" Hela met their eyes. "They do not need weapons in the usual sense. Humans survive, grow, and fight in ways we cannot predict. They adapt to impossible situations, cooperate beyond expectation, and inspire hope. That is exactly what we need against terror. The council realized she was right. Humans were unpredictable and resourceful. If any species could resist terror's attacks, it was them. The decision was made: representatives would reach out to Earth, observe, and prepare to involve humans in the fight. Meanwhile, terror began a more direct approach. Its presence grew stronger near the council stations. Shadows twisted around the docking bays, and alarms blared as systems malfunctioned. Ships attempting to leave were suddenly immobilized. Delegates who had faced invasions before were frozen with fear. Terror's power was not in destruction alone, it was in control, the ability to make the strongest leaders hesitate, doubt, and fear. Rilo studied the energy patterns and said, "It does not act like any enemy we have known. Weapons do not affect it. It seems to feed on fear. The more we panic, the stronger it becomes." Hela nodded. "Then we must resist panic. We must remain calm and strategic. Fear is its tool. Humans may be our only hope because they do not fear in the usual way. Their courage is not based on strength but on determination and unity." Across the galaxy, human signals continued to reach space. They were exploring, learning, and building. Their small ships traveled to nearby planets, satellites, and asteroid belts. They sent signals not of domination but of curiosity. Each act of innovation, each attempt to overcome a challenge, resonated through space in a way that terror could sense. The Council's scientists began to realize the truth. Human strength was not in what they controlled but in how they responded to challenges. They learned quickly, improvised, and supported each other. Where other species might collapse under pressure, humans thrived. It was then that the first human ambassador arrived at the Council station. Lorne was young and small compared to the towering aliens, but his presence carried a confidence that was rare. He had not been trained for diplomacy among alien species, yet he spoke clearly and calmly, showing knowledge of both human life and the way humans solved problems. "Humans face challenges together," Lorne said. "We do not wait for one leader or one machine to guide us. We learn, adapt, and help each other. That is how we survive." The Council listened, amazed. Every word seemed simple, yet it carried power. Humans had survived floods, storms, disease, and conflict, not by weapons, but by unity and creativity. Lorne's presence reminded the Council that Earth's strength was not obvious, it was hidden, quiet, and unstoppable when challenged. The urgency increased. Terror's attacks on the Council grew bolder. Shadows of darkness moved through the corridors, systems flickered, and communications failed. Delegates who had been confident only days before now trembled. But Hela and Rilo, guided by Lorne's explanation of human courage, kept focus. They began to organize a strategy that combined Council technology and humans' unique skills. The Council realized they had underestimated the small blue planet. Humans were ordinary in appearance but extraordinary in effect. Terror, sensing the Council's reliance on humans, intensified its presence, moving closer to Earth's system. It was clear now that the galaxy itself was on the brink of a new conflict. The Council had a choice: hide and hope terror would not strike Earth, or embrace the humans' potential and risk involving them in the galaxy's greatest threat. The delegates, inspired by Lorne and his calm confidence, chose the latter. Humans would be prepared, observed, and included. Their courage and ingenuity might be the only way to resist terror. As the Council finalized its plan, an uneasy silence fell over the chamber. Shadowed energy pulsed across space. The first signs of terror's direct assault were visible, and the galaxy would soon understand the true challenge it faced. Earth, a planet so small, had become the center of attention for forces far beyond its understanding. The stage was set for confrontation. The Council had chosen to trust humans, but even they did not know the full power of terror. And far away, in the darkness of the void, terror watched patiently, waiting for the moment when fear would spread, and the galaxy's voice would be silenced. On Earth, life continued much as it always had, unaware of the looming danger in the stars. Humans were busy exploring, inventing, and working together to solve the challenges of their world. Cities expanded, research stations tested new energy sources, and communities supported each other through hardships. Yet, unknown to them, forces beyond their understanding had already taken notice. When the Council contacted Earth, they did not demand obedience or force humans to act. Instead, they explained the situation carefully, showing images of fleets being disrupted, systems going dark, and the invisible shadow called terror moving through space. Humans listened, absorbing the information with their usual mixture of curiosity and determination. They did not panic. They did not hesitate. They began to plan. Lorne, the young ambassador who had visited the council before, spoke to the human leaders. "This is unlike anything we have faced," he said. "But we have always faced challenges together. We learn from failure, we adapt, and we support each other. That is how we survive. That is how we can help the galaxy now." Humans began to prepare. Scientists worked on devices that could detect disturbances in space, engineers designed small, adaptable ships, and strategists studied the patterns of terror's attacks. Unlike other species, humans did not rely on sheer power or massive fleets. They relied on creativity, improvisation, and teamwork. They tested ideas quickly, learning from mistakes and improving with every attempt. Meanwhile, terror sensed the humans' activity. It had expected fear, hesitation, or submission. Instead, it felt determination. Humans moved as one, yet each person acted independently when needed. They created traps, diversions, and communication methods that no other species could predict. Every move frustrated terror, and the darkness it controlled seemed to falter. The first human operation was simple but daring. A fleet of small, agile ships, guided by humans and assisted by council advisors, moved toward a region where terror's presence had been detected. Other species had tried to approach before, but their large ships had been disabled instantly. Humans, however, acted unpredictably. They used small drones, decoys, and innovative maneuvers that no algorithm could anticipate. Their flexibility allowed them to reach areas that others could not. Lorne monitored the operation from a central station. "They are learning as they go," he said to Hela, who observed from the council chamber. "Every challenge teaches them something new. They do not wait for orders. They act, adapt, and succeed." The humans' ingenuity began to pay off. They discovered that terror's power was strongest when beings feared or panicked. By remaining calm, coordinated, and creative, humans weakened the entity's influence in localized areas. Simple but clever tactics like sudden changes in formation, unexpected energy pulses, and coordinated distractions disrupted terror's plans repeatedly. Even ordinary humans played a role. Engineers repaired communication networks instantly after attacks, medical teams treated injured personnel without delay, and scouts collected information in dangerous zones with courage and precision. Their combined efforts created a network of resistance that was difficult to predict, even for the Council. Terror, frustrated by these failures, became more aggressive. Shadows twisted and moved faster, systems flickered, and entire fleets were threatened. Yet humans refused to yield. Each setback taught them a lesson. Each obstacle became an opportunity to improve. Where other species might have retreated or surrendered, humans adapted and fought back with renewed strength. Rilo, observing from the council, said quietly, "They are not strong in the usual sense, but they are stronger than anything we have faced. Their power lies in their unity and their ability to innovate under pressure. Terror has never faced such a force before." The human success inspired the council as well. Delegates who had doubted Earth's potential began to see its true value. Humans were not just participants, they were leaders in a fight that spanned the galaxy. Their courage, creativity, and determination were setting a new standard for what a species could achieve. By the end of the first cycle of operations, Terror's influence had been disrupted in several sectors. Systems once paralyzed by fear and chaos began to function again. Planets that had been silent sent messages of hope and cooperation. The galaxy was witnessing the rise of something unexpected. The small blue planet, Earth, and its people, were teaching even the oldest civilizations how to resist fear and act with courage. Yet, even in success, the humans knew the fight was far from over. Terror was patient, cunning, and still growing in strength. But Earth had proven one crucial fact: no matter how powerful the darkness, a species united by courage, ingenuity, and determination could challenge it. For the first time, humans understood their role in the larger galaxy. They were no longer passive observers. They were active participants, using their unique strengths to fight an enemy far beyond their world. And as they prepared for the next phase of the struggle, they did so with the certainty that their greatest weapon was not a fleet or a weapon, but their own resilience and unity. The battle had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Terror had grown impatient. The humans' resistance had disrupted its plans, weakened its influence, and frustrated its control over the galaxy. Shadows stretched across space, darkening regions near council stations and cutting off communications. Entire fleets were immobilized, but humans had survived, adapted, and even pushed back. The entity realized it could no longer act indirectly. It had to confront Earth directly. Deep in orbit above the planet, Terror's presence began to take shape. Stars seemed to dim, and the sky darkened unnaturally. Communication signals flickered. The humans watched in alarm as clouds twisted unnaturally and energy readings spiked. Machines and systems that had worked perfectly for decades failed without explanation. The shadows moved with intent, searching for patterns, probing for weakness. Leaders across Earth convened quickly. Scientists, engineers, military officers, and explorers gathered to assess the threat. Lorne, acting as a liaison with the Council, addressed the group. Terror is not like anything we have faced before. Its power is not in physical strength but in fear and control. It senses weakness. But we have seen something others cannot: we do not yield to fear. That is our advantage. Humans began to organize, using creativity, adaptability, and teamwork as their primary weapons. They set up observation networks to track the anomalies, built portable energy shields, and developed communication systems resistant to interference. Their small spacecraft moved in unpredictable patterns, avoiding direct confrontation while collecting crucial data. Every human contributed, no matter how small the task. Terror tested them immediately. Storms appeared above major cities, machines malfunctioned, and visions of despair seemed to touch every mind. It created illusions of destruction, showing entire regions in ruins. Many species would have panicked, but humans did not. Engineers fixed systems on the spot. Communities rallied together. Scientists used the illusions as training, finding solutions that made their cities stronger. Children, unaware of the shadows, continued to play and explore, a small but important reminder that life must go on. The council watched in awe. Hela turned to Rilo and said, "No force we have known can withstand this without fear. Yet these humans do not falter. Their courage is not blind. It is active, deliberate, and constant. They are teaching us what true resilience is." Terror, sensing its influence weakening, grew more aggressive. Shadows moved faster, energy pulses disrupted entire networks, and entire fleets were challenged by sudden, unpredictable attacks. Yet humans adapted immediately. Each obstacle was met with a solution, each trick with innovation. Where terror expected fear, it found determination. Where it expected submission, It found unity. Lorne led a critical operation. Small, agile ships flew through areas of concentrated shadow. Humans on board used rapid calculations, intuition, and creative tactics to evade attacks and deploy devices that amplified their resilience. They created energy pulses that disrupted terror's presence in localized areas, giving other humans the chance to repair damaged systems. Every success encouraged the next, creating a ripple effect across the planet and into nearby space. Terror tried a new approach. It projected illusions of despair on a massive scale, making entire cities appear destroyed and millions of lives lost. The entity expected humans to collapse under the emotional weight. But humans did not despair. Leaders coordinated emergency responses, rebuilt critical systems, and guided people to safety. Volunteers risked their lives to save others. Communities worked together to maintain order and hope. Each act of courage weakened terror's influence further. For the first time, the entity understood something fundamental. Humans were not strong because of weapons or power. They were strong because they acted with purpose, creativity, and unity. Their courage was contagious, spreading through communities and even reaching species across nearby star systems. Terror's shadow lost cohesion where humans' determination shone brightest. The Council realized that the humans' approach was the key to survival. They began to assist without interfering, providing technical guidance, sharing resources, and relaying information. Humans led the resistance. They were not pawns in a galactic struggle, they were the central force. By the end of the cycle, the first direct assault of terror had been repelled. Cities remained intact, systems were restored, and the humans had proven their ability to face challenges far beyond their world. Terror retreated temporarily, not defeated but forced to reconsider its strategy. It had underestimated humans and the power of their courage. Humans gathered to assess the situation. They knew terror would return, stronger and more cunning. Yet they felt no despair. Their strength lay not in the size of their fleet, but in the unity, creativity, and adaptability that defined them. Every human understood that the fight was only beginning, but also that no shadow, no matter how dark, could overcome their resolve when they stood together. Earth had faced its first test against a force that could have destroyed entire civilizations. The humans had survived, learned, and grown stronger. They were no longer just inhabitants of a small planet, they were defenders of the galaxy, a living testament to the power of courage, innovation, and unity. And far away, in the darkness, terror watched, waiting, calculating, and realizing that Earth was not just another target. It was the spark of a force that could challenge even the oldest and most powerful entities in the galaxy. The battle was not over, but one truth was clear: the humans had become a voice that even terror could not silence. The galaxy waited in tension. Terror, the shadow that had tested worlds for cycles, had returned. This time, its presence was stronger, darker, and more calculated. It had learned from its previous encounter with humans and the Council. Entire star systems trembled as signals of fear and confusion rippled through space. Yet Earth remained calm. Humans were ready, not because they were the strongest in firepower, but because they understood the power of unity, courage, and creativity. On Earth, Lorne and the human leaders coordinated with the Council. Scientists, engineers, strategists, and everyday citizens worked side by side. Messages were shared, plans were drawn, and preparations were made to face the approaching darkness. Small ships flew in patterns designed to confuse terror, while energy devices were deployed to amplify human determination and collective will. Lorne addressed the gathered humans and Council advisors. "We cannot fight terror with fear or force alone," he said. "Our strength is in how we work together, how we adapt, and how we never give up. Every action we take can push back the darkness. We do not fight as individuals. We fight as a species, and together with the galaxy, we can overcome this threat." The first signs of terror's assault arrived swiftly. Shadows twisted through the upper atmosphere, bending light and creating illusions of destruction. Entire cities seemed to crumble under invisible pressure, and energy systems fluctuated unpredictably. Panic might have overtaken any other species, but humans did not falter. Volunteers repaired systems instantly, communities guided each other to safety, and scientists adapted energy fields to counteract the distortions. In space, small human ships moved in agile, unpredictable patterns. Council ships followed their lead, observing how humans turned danger into opportunity. Every maneuver, every improvised tactic, disrupted terror's strategy. The entity, accustomed to fear, could not anticipate human adaptability. Where it expected hesitation, it found initiative. Where it expected surrender, it found courage. Terror struck harder. Massive shadows extended across planetary surfaces, consuming light and silence. Communications faltered. Fleets faced sudden disarray. The entity projected visions of hopelessness, trying to overwhelm human minds. Yet, with each attempt, humans adapted. They used distraction techniques, energy amplifiers, and rapid problem solving to counter the illusions. Communities became beacons of resilience, their actions feeding each other and even influencing nearby star systems to resist fear. Lorne led a critical operation near one of the largest shadowed regions. Small teams of humans, guided by council advisors, deployed devices that converted energy from fear into pulses of hope. The machines were simple in design but powerful in effect, amplifying determination, unity, and courage. As the pulses spread, terror's shadows flickered and retreated in places where humans' will was strongest. Hela observed the progress and said quietly, "They are not just resisting terror. They are teaching the galaxy to resist." Every act of courage spreads like a signal. Hope becomes a weapon the darkness cannot contain. The council watched in awe. Delegates who had doubted Earth's potential now saw the truth clearly. Human strength was not in armies or technology. It was in their spirit, their unity, and their ability to act creatively under pressure. By embracing their courage, humans had turned an invisible, overwhelming threat into a challenge they could meet. Terror realized its previous assumptions had been wrong. No amount of fear could dominate humans. No shadow could fully silence their spirit. Its attacks, while still powerful, became less effective with every countermeasure, every act of ingenuity, and every collective effort by humans and allied species. The entity was forced to retreat temporarily, not destroyed but contained, unable to overwhelm the combined force of determination, creativity, and unity. On Earth, humans celebrated the first victory. Cities were intact, systems restored, and communities stronger than before. They understood one important truth: terror would return, but they had proven they could face even the darkest threats. Their courage and unity were now a model for the galaxy, showing that a small planet could influence entire star systems through hope, intelligence, and teamwork. Lorne addressed the Council and humans alike. "This is only the beginning. The galaxy has seen what humans can do. Terror may try again, but we are ready. We will continue to learn, adapt, and act together. Earth has shown the universe that courage, creativity, and unity are stronger than fear." The Galactic Council, inspired by the humans' example, began to adopt their methods. Species that had relied on strict hierarchy, control, or fear began to see the power of cooperation and hope. The influence of Earth's people spread beyond their planet, inspiring civilizations across the galaxy to resist tyranny and darkness in their own ways. And far away, in the darkness, terror observed. It had been challenged in ways it had never anticipated. It had felt fear not in itself, but in the ripple of courage and hope it could not control. Earth had become more than a planet. It had become a symbol, a beacon, a voice that could not be silenced. The galaxy had learned a new truth: the small blue planet, Earth, and its humans could change the course of history not through domination or destruction, but through courage, ingenuity, and unity. Humans had become the voice of hope, a force that even the oldest shadows could not extinguish. In the end, the lesson was clear. Strength was not only in power or weapons. Strength was in resilience, determination, and working together. Terror had been tested and held at bay. The galaxy had discovered the real power of Earth, and from that day forward, humans were no longer just one species among many. They were a force to be reckoned with, a beacon of light in the vast darkness of space. The voice of humanity had been heard, and it would echo through the galaxy forever.